My dear brothers and sisters, I wish to welcome you to the 13th Sunday in Ordinary Time. Today, in our Gospel passage, we encounter two important human problems. The first one, disease. The second one, death. Most times and all the time, we can't avoid these two. We get sick sometimes, and death is inevitable. But Jesus becomes the antidote to these two problems. In the first instance, Jesus healed the woman who suffered from blood flow, from hemorrhage for 12 years. In the second instance, the daughter of Jairus died, the reality of death. Jesus encountered the family and restored this little girl to life. So Jesus is our healer and he is also our life giver. I like us to concentrate more on this woman who had hemorrhage. In the Jewish setting, when a woman sees her menstruation, she is considered to be unclean. In fact, she's not supposed to even cook for the husband. This woman has suffered this seemingly menstruation. She has suffered from this hemorrhage that became a sickness for her for more than 12 years. Imagine the trauma. Imagine the misery. Imagine the emotional pain. Imagine the torture, the torment that this sickness gave to her. Have you ever suffered from something that you keep on praying and praying and praying? The more you're praying, the more it's getting worse. The more you're taking medicines, the more the sickness got worse. Have you ever found yourself in such a situation? This woman was in this situation and she was looking for cure. She was looking for remedy until this day. This gospel passage is very special to me because it has something to do with my vocation. This was the same gospel that was read on the day that God answered my prayer. This woman was sick. She was socially ostracized because as a woman with the flow of blood, she's not allowed to go to the temple. She's not allowed to touch anything that people who are considered to be clean, ritually clean, touch. Because anything she touches becomes unclean. So she had no family, she had no friends, she had no husband, she had no money, because the Bible tells us today that she spent all her savings, all her money in searching for cure. And the more she searched for cure, the more her sickness got worse. She had no opportunity even to worship God because she's not allowed to go to the temple. She had no relationship. She was basically alone. She was abandoned. She was rejected. She was marginalized. She was wounded in her heart. Imagine this kind of sickness. The sickness that dehumanizes you. The sickness that embarrasses you. You are a woman, you're moving around, you're smelly, you're a woman, you're moving around, you have to wear something extra just to, make people not to see the stain of blood in your clothes. She was sick. But guess what? The greatest sickness was not just the hemorrhage. The greatest sickness is not cancer. The greatest sickness is not tuberculosis, it's not even diabetes, it's not any of those big sicknesses we think about. The greatest sickness is lack of love, lack of affection, lack of friends. When you feel alone, even in the midst of so many people, this is what causes frustration, disappointment, and eventually ends up in depression. And that's why many people commit suicide. But guess what? This woman, even though she was in this helpless situation, she remained confident. Ordinarily, she was not supposed to even go near the crowd. If the crowd knew that she was impure, unclean, they would have stoned her. But she was confident and she came before Jesus. She had that courage, she had that fortitude. And I want to tell you something, that her confidence, her courage was by the grace of God. Ordinarily, many of us will remain, in self-pity when we get this kind of sickness. But this woman, refused. She refused to be defined by her sickness. She refused to be defined by what people think about her. She had strong faith. Faith is a supernatural gift from God, but it's also a relationship with God. This woman believed that if she touches the garment of Jesus, she will be healed. She had that open heart. In the words of Pope Francis, she had that open heart that the Lord can enter into me and become the solution, become the healing, become the health that I'm looking for. Many of us receive communion every day, but nothing happens to us. We don't receive the healing. Why? Because we are not open. We don't have that open mind. We don't have that open heart. But this woman came before Jesus in confidence and in total faith, total surrender. You are my last bus stop. You are the last hope I have. And she was so honest. When Jesus asked, "Who touched me?" the disciples said, "Hey, come on. There's so many people here pressing around you. How can you be asking that kind of ridiculous question?" But you know what? Jesus does not look at us as a group. He looks at us as individuals. Why? Because Jesus knows our individual struggles. He knows our individual history. He knows our individual challenges, crises, trials. Jesus knows us personally. Remember the story of the lost sheep? There were 100 sheep. When one got missing, the shepherd was able to notice. Why? Because he knew them individually. It was a hopeless situation, dear brothers and sisters. She tried all the doctors, but she got worse. She lost all her money. Money cannot buy everything. Love is free. Many people think that success and money can give you fulfillment and happiness. No, it is our relationship with Jesus. You see, when this woman came close to Jesus, her story changed. And that is the beginning of her healing. And when she accepted that she was the one who touched Jesus in all sincerity and honesty, Jesus gave her salvation. Not just physical healing, but integral healing, which means that Jesus gave her the healing of her body and the healing of her soul. That is what is called salvation. Somebody may ask, did Jesus go late in the house of Jairus? Because he was basically interrupted by this woman. The answer is no. God's time is always the best. When Jesus arrived in the house of Jairus, the daughter was already dead. And people say, "No, don't worry the master anymore. Your daughter is already dead." And Jesus looked at the man and said, "Don't be afraid. Don't listen to what people say about you. Listen to me. Focus on me. Pay attention to me. Don't allow the voice of your sickness, don't allow the voice of discouragement to remove your faith from you. Focus on me. Don't be afraid." What happened? Jesus entered there and he said, "This young girl is not dead." They ridiculed him. What did Jesus do? The Bible said he put them out. If you want to receive healing in your life, if you want to be successful in this life, if you want to blossom, if you want to receive promotion, if you want to move away from your comfort zone, it's either you separate yourself from toxic people or you remove the negative toxic people from your life. You can never prosper if you remain with people who are negative-minded, people who are myopic, people who are stunted in their thought. You can never grow. As we celebrate this 13th Sunday, brothers and sisters, let us remember that Jesus is our healer and he is also our freedom and he is also our life giver. I will tell God about you. Happy Sunday.